We would like to call to order the January 8th Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. We'll start off with a roll call.
Obleton. Gleason, excused. Wills.
Here.
Lord.
Here.
Hodges.
Here.
Bird, excused. Holloway.
Here.
Kiefer.
Here.
R. Johnson.
Here.
Gilmore.
Here.
Nolan. Alan Rasso.
Here.
Cooper, I think you're virtual.
Yes, I am.
Patel, excused. Adela Rasso, I think you're also virtual.
Here.
Hi. Did I get everybody? That's it.
And we do have a quorum.
Thank you so very much. We'd like to get started with citizens with CAC business. Please note at this time, you may address the CAC on any matters of CAC business. This is not an opportunity for questions and answers with the CAC. In accordance with open meeting laws, the CAC cannot take action on any complaints or suggestions tonight and cannot respond to any allegations at this time. Please identify yourself for the record, and there is a limit of 5 minutes. Is there any citizens with CAC business? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Dennis Platt. I live in the 3rd Ward, and I'm here as a volunteer for the Quad City Tenant Alliance. And what I wanted to discuss very briefly is the need in our community, just in the way of information, so that you have a little bit more background regarding the needs of our community. During the first 9 months of 2023, as best I can determine, about 90 rental properties in Davenport were deemed uninhabitable, and the occupants were ordered to vacate, often with a 30-day notice, sometimes with a very short notice, depending on the safety of the situation, sometimes same day. So you can imagine the hardships involved in getting news like that, particularly if you're a low-income Davenport resident. The chaos that this creates is hard for most of us with stable housing to even imagine. But if you're poor and you have kids, if you're a single mom, or if you're just not expecting this and it happens at the wrong time, it's a pretty big problem. And so one of the things we hope to work with the city on this year is a tenant relocation assistance program funded with HUD dollars that we get through the CBDG program. And I'd be happy to visit with you or individually or collectively if anyone has any questions about any of this. And I know other people want to speak on this topic as well. But we have some ideas about how to structure a program that meets federal guidelines and supports our residents without impacting anyone regarding, property taxes or any other city expenses. Bottom line, though, it will take some effort to set it up, and of course, this requires staff time. And so, we want to be upfront about all this. We know time doesn't come out of thin air; it has to happen somehow. But in any event, if or when this issue should ever come before you, in terms of asking you for a recommendation for the city council, we would certainly appreciate your support, at least in listening to the contents of the proposal and going from there. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this important issue. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else with comments for the CAC?
Hello, my name's Hannah Griggs. I'm a community organizer with Quad City Interfaith, and the project I'm working on is Quad City Tenant Alliance. So, in short, I'm with Dennis. I brought these, which we acquired through Freedom of Information Act request. In 2017, the city of Davenport did have a relocation assistance program. And it was funded through HUD's Community Development Block Grant. So you can take a look there about how that program was structured. And one reason why we think that this program should be reinstated is because it would be relatively easy to reinstate it, since there's already a proposal drawn up. It used to be a thing. Well, as since 324 Main Street, the quality of housing conditions has been under increased scrutiny. And as our standards improve when it comes to providing safe, decent, and affordable housing for every Quad Cityans improves, there's going to be more buildings that are condemned. As Dennis said, 93 in the first 9 months of 2023. And these mass displacement events put Davenport residents in immense danger. When buildings are condemned, people end up homeless. The shortage of safe, decent, and affordable housing compounds the difficulty of finding new housing. For most people, a surprise expense is a huge financial burden. Living paycheck to paycheck, many people cannot afford first month's rent and a security deposit, especially on short notice. Paying for movers might be an obstacle, so people have to leave their belongings behind. I know of at least 2 people who this has happened to. The 2017 Relocation Assistance Program helped fill that gap, and Davenport already offers many programs to homeowners which prevent the need for relocation assistance: the owner-occupied housing rehab loan program, the Davenport Dream Project, Urban Homestead Loan Program, Homebuyer Down Payment Grant Program, but there's nothing for renters. And as a few years ago, we saw the displacement of dozens of people at Crestwood Apartments when they were condemned. In addition to the 3 deaths that we saw in May at the building collapse at 324 Main Street, we saw dozens of people displaced. As we speak, Quad City Tenant Alliance knows of at least 2 buildings, Cobblestone Apartments and Marycrest Senior Campus, who have had warnings posted by the city that if their property owner doesn't repair within the next 30 days, they will be facing a vacate order. And these tenants have no control over these circumstances. At Marycrest, the roof is so leaky that the building might be vacated. At Cobblestone, the carpet's so moldy that the apartment might be vacated, and tenants have been paying their rent. But still, they might not receive what they expect from their rent, a safe place to live. So we're asking you to put relocation assistance on the agenda as you guys are talking about what to do with this money, or to help us figure out who we need to ask to get a program like this started. And we're asking you to recommend that Davenport restarts and expands the relocation assistance program. And I put expands in there because it was only $500 of relocation assistance. And the cheapest apartment I could find when I was looking for apartments recently was $615 a month. So $500 a month is not, or not $500 a month, but $500 isn't going to get you as far as you hope it would. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Roy Burchard, and I live at 7th and Gaines Street in the 3rd Ward. And I merely would like to reaffirm what my colleagues have said. We are conscious in our neighborhood of housing both going out of cycle and of housing being rehabbed. And there is a great need for more of that, which they've just referred to. But as a retired clergy person, I'm concerned about, and a volunteer at a neighborhood food pantry, I'm concerned about folks that are falling through the cracks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We will refer the request to city staff for follow-up. Next on the agenda is a review and the approval of minutes from the November 6, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm sorry, we didn't catch the motion. Kiefer and the second? Johnson, thank you.
Next is an action item. It is a reprogramming of year 48 funds to year 49. I will give it to Heather.
Hello. Before you, you have information regarding reprogramming requests that were received from currently funded CDBG subrecipients. So those of you who have been around for a few years have been through a reprogramming cycle or 2 or 10. And those of you who are newer may have not or have only been through for a year or so. So I'll just give you a quick reminder of that process. And then the CAC will consider the request before you and make a recommendation to council. So, as you know, CDBG funding is awarded through an application process. Entities, nonprofit agencies who are interested in applying for CDBG funds would typically attend a application workshop in either November or December, depending on the way the dates fall. And then they would have about a month to complete their applications. And usually at the beginning of January or late December, they would have to turn in, one moment, I gotta turn off the overhead mic to prevent that feedback. Typically they would turn in their applications in late December, early January, and that application they turn in is for funding for the year that begins July 1st. Once the CAC kind of goes through the application scoring process and makes a recommendation to council, then council would approve that recommendation and it would be included in the city's annual plan to HUD. And once HUD approved the plan, then we could enter into agreements with the agencies. So it's a somewhat lengthy process. But once we hit July 1st, the agencies have their contracts and they go forth and do the thing that it is that they applied to do. The agreements are for 1 year only. So the fiscal year runs from July 1st of a year to June 30th of the following year. And at the end of that June 30th, funding that is unobligated and unspent from subrecipients and city departments comes back to the CDBG program. I say comes back, but it never actually left. Everything with CDBG is reimbursement only. So effectively, it just means the agreement ends and they aren't able to access those funds any longer. But it doesn't mean that the city loses access to that money. It's not as if it goes back to HUD because it was unspent. It becomes part of this process, which is the reprogramming process. So before you, you have requests, and that is for the reprogramming of funding that was unspent and unobligated for the fiscal year that ended June 30th of 2023. So that was 6 months ago. But finally, we have all of our approvals and our finalizations, and so we are ready to do the reprogramming process. So the CAC has adopted requirements and guidelines for how the reprogramming process works, and those are in accordance with requirements that HUD has with regards to how the annual plan operates. So currently, the process for reprogramming is open to current subrecipients who are already funded with CDBG money, but that were not funded to the maximum amount that they requested during the original application process. The other wrinkle with reprogramming is we talk a lot here about the public service cap. So the CDBG program, as originally conceived by Congress, was a bricks and mortar only program. There were no social services or nonprofit funding at all included in CDBG for a very long time, from about the 70s to about the 90s. It was a bricks and mortar, go out and build a road, go out and rehab a house kind of program. Round about the late 80s, early 90s, council incorporated something called public services, but the Congress wanted to keep CDBG as a primarily bricks and mortar program, and so they capped how much of CDBG money could be spent towards these social services, and that's called the public service cap. So in any given year, no more than 15% of the current year's grant plus 15% of the prior year's program income can be spent towards public services. So that is what the public service cap is. And how that impacts reprogramming is that, so we've ended our fiscal year. The mere fact that we have money left from a prior fiscal year does not raise the cap in the current year. So just having money left over from a previous year doesn't increase our current year's cap. But what may increase the current year's cap is if the city received more program income than was estimated last year. Because we are able to take up to 15% of program income earned and apply that to public services in the prior year. So, and that is the case this year. The city had, the estimate last year was lower than the program income that was earned, and that has resulted in the fact that there are $10,000 that could be allocated through the reprogramming process in the public service category. In addition to that, the remainder of the reprogramming funding could be allocated within the non-public service category. So those are the bricks and mortar things that Congress intended originally CDBG to fund, like housing, economic development, those kinds of things. So the CAC's current process is that if there is reprogrammable funding available, staff will notify the eligible applicants. Those are applicants already funded and not funded to the maximum amount that they requested. And so that was done back in December. And the requests that are received are in your packet. So requests were received in the public service category from Big Brothers Big Sisters, Humility Homes and Services, and Project Renewal. And in the non-public service category, requests were received from the Housing Rehabilitation Revolving Loan Fund and the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund. So the CAC's task here is twofold. One, to vote on whether these applicants are eligible under the current eligibility criteria. Those criteria are they're currently funded CDBG subrecipients, and they were not fully funded to the maximum amount of their request. And staff can confirm that is true for all of the applications that were received. The second vote that you'll take will be to make a recommendation on how that funding should be allocated. Please keep in mind, a maximum of $10,000 could be allocated in the public service cap. That is not a requirement. If you chose to allocate nothing in the public service category, that is also a choice. Public services are not a required component of CDBG. So you could allocate up to $10,000 in public service, or you could allocate less than that, or you could allocate zero in public service and put all the money into non-public service. So those are the parameters that you'll be working within this evening.
So in terms of eligibility, that'd be our first vote. Do we want to vote for these three organizations individually or as a group?
That would be a CAC decision.
Yep, that's one. I see a group, okay. So the first vote will be to vote on whether or not these three organizations are eligible to receive CDBG funds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm not sure that they heard the call for opposed, because there's a lag.
Okay.
So could you please do the opposed again, so the online will have a chance?
All those who are opposed? Okay, seeing none. All three organizations are eligible. Now, I see here, by reading it, that we have, out of the three proposals, we have Big Brothers Big Sisters is asking for $2,831. Humility Homes and Services is asking for $10,000. And Project Renewal is also asking for $10,000. So I'll entertain discussion. Let's do Mr. Gilmore.
Not to get too technical, but should that last one have required a motion and a second?
I was going to circle back to that, but
Okay,
yes, I
thank you.
believe that you are correct. To just clarify the record, if the chair could call for a motion and a second, and then we'll just redo that vote on eligibility.
Certainly. So I'll
Thank
entertain a
you.
motion.
Thank you, Dale.
I will entertain a motion for the eligibility of the three organizations. Reagan Johnson. Okay. Moved and seconded. Do we still take a vote? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? All those opposed? Okay. The motion carries. Mr. Kiefer.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the the public services of the 10,000 and give Big Brothers Big Sisters 2831 and then split the remaining between the other Humility and Project Renewal.
The motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
We can give up to 10,000 of that money to public services. That's what we're capped at by HUD. So I made a motion to give Big Brothers their 2,800 that they're asking for and then split the remaining money between the other two. What is it, 7,000? So 3,500 roughly between the remaining two.
That is my understanding as well.
Okay, I guess I see amounts on the last page. But is there something I'm missing?
Right here.
I think what Chad is, on the last page, I think what Chad is speaking to is there's only 10,000 available in public service, but the requests in public service total $22,831. And so I think he's proposing a potential split of that money. No, that's just a listing of the requests. Yep, that's okay. Nope, that's fine.
Any additional?
Question.
Yes.
Excuse me. I'm having some problems here finding, okay. I see where, okay, I got it.
If
I
the
got it.
chair could recognize.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Heather.
I did the math, just for clarification. I'm sure Reagan beat me to it. But Big Brothers, under the current motion on the floor, it's been proposed Big Brothers Big Sisters would receive, of the 10,000 available, $2,831, which is their request. The remaining funding would be divided equally among the two other requests in the public service category, Project Renewal and Humility of Mary. They would each receive $3,584 with $1 remaining to be decided between the two. So staff would just need guidance on where you would like that $1 to go if this motion would pass.
Any additional questions or discussion?
Why don't we just give that $1, just divide it between the two so they each
50
get
cents.
50 cents?
I am reporting that we cannot fund cents. So we do need to fund in whole dollars.
So who do we like more?
I would move that we give that $1 to Project Renewal.
So we have a motion that's been amended. Is that what I hear?
Sure. So we'll,
I know it seems petty, but we do need to account for all the dollars. So if the first and the second agree to the amendment, then we could proceed with a vote.
so I would ask that we amend that motion to offer $3,584 to Humility of Mary and $3,585 to Project Renewal.
Thank you. Kiefer and Johnson.
I'll second.
So there's a motion, been, motion moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Yes, go ahead.
So what's left out of that then? Is it?
The remaining funding, it must be awarded in the non-public service category. The remaining funding is $148,066.82. So we do have to award the cents in that case.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Chad, do you have additional items? Okay.
I guess I'd make a motion then to take that 10,000 out of the housing and give the Economic Development Fund their full request, and then the 98,066.82 to.
I think that I think it happens automatically, yeah.
Oh, they did, okay. Oh, my bad, yep, never mind.
So that is currently this what is happening, correct?
That is correct. And just as a point of clarification, the way that the system, the HUD system is, all the dollars have to be accounted for. And so what has historically happened in a reprogramming situation is whatever is available to make up the exact dollar amount, the request for housing will usually have an odd number, which is what you see before you, because that is our biggest revolving loan fund. It's our biggest source of expenditure is our housing programs, and there's always a need for more money. So typically in a reprogramming situation, once other requests have been made, if there's a need to make up an exact dollar amount, we make it up in the housing program because there's always a need for that. So that's why you see the 108.6682, because we do have to award all of the money, and that's the kind of cleanup amount.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Next, we have some packets here.
I don't think we voted.
I'm sorry.
I think we have a motion from Chad to fund at the requested amount, is that correct? And then we would need a second and a vote. Okay.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have the Year 50 applications, work session, and presentation meeting. I'll give it again to Heather.
Okay, so I kind of gave you the little mini timeline when we talked about reprogramming, and so that's kind of where we are in, as we talk about all the time in CAC, but for the benefit of our guests, we, at any given time with CDBG, we have our foot in 3 different years. So we have the year that we already concluded that we're still doing reporting on and things like reprogramming, cleanup items. So that was our year 48. And so we have our foot in year 48 because we're still cleaning up and reporting on that year. We have the year that we're in now, which is year 49. And for the current year, we have subrecipients, they're doing their programs, we're doing reimbursements and monitoring and all of that kind of stuff. That's year 49. But now we're looking ahead already to next year, which begins July 1st of 2024. And we are doing the application cycle for that. So that's year 50. So at any given time, we have our foot in 3 years. So reprogramming, we just touched year 48 and 49. Now we're looking forward to year 50. And so we had our application workshop at the last Tuesday in November, right after Thanksgiving. And I am pleased to report that we had over 30 attendees, which is a record in the time that I've been doing it, including quite a few new agencies attended the workshop for the first time. So we were able to talk through a lot of the requirements for CDBG and the types of funding that's available and the requirements around the funding. With a lot of nonprofits, they're really looking for upfront money, and CDBG doesn't fund things upfront. It's all based on reimbursement. And so kind of talking through that process during the application workshop. So then the applicants had over a month to complete their applications, and they were due last week on January 2nd at noon. And we received applications from all of our current year 49 subrecipients, and I'm pleased to report 3 new applicants actually did follow through and apply this year. For the year coming up July 1st. So they're in the public service category. We had new applicants in the public service category. And so those applicants, we sent them to you via email, so you have the applications. We have printed versions in front of you. The majority of you requested them, so we just printed them for everybody. It's quite a packet, so it'd be a lot for your little home printer to crank out, I think. So we have them there for you to review. So looking forward to kind of what's coming up next. You all will have the opportunity to review the applications. As you may remember from last year, every application is reviewed and scored by every CAC member. So you all independently score, and then those scores are pooled, and that helps to determine what the recommended funding amount will be. And so we will have on the 17th, I think it's the 17th, now I'm questioning myself, we'll have the application work session. So this will be an opportunity for CAC members to meet together. It's optional, it's not required. It's at the Eastern Avenue Library. We had to move the location. Every room in this building is booked next week, and the police station too. So we're moving it out to the Eastern Avenue Library.
January 17th?
Yes, correct.
It says 16th.
Oh, I'm sorry. The front page says 17th, the packet says 16th. The packet is correct. It's Tuesday, whatever the Tuesday is.
Okay.
It's the Tuesday. So I apologize, typoed that. So
And
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, the time for that is?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And at the work session, as I said, it's optional, it's not mandatory. If you're interested in attending, you're welcome to. Some CAC members really like to attend it and kind of discuss it in group setting. Some prefer just to read the applications on their own time. But whatever the case may be, if you attend the work session, we'll generate questions from the CAC. Those will be sent to the applicants in writing, and they will have 1 week to respond in writing to the questions. If you can't attend the work session, but you do still have some questions, that's fine. You just email them to us, and we will include them in the questions that we send out to the applicants. So that's the work session. Then at our February CAC meeting, so that'll be the first Monday in February, the decision point for the CAC is presentations. Typically, the CAC will hear in-person presentations from applicants. There have been years with COVID where there was a virtual option given. So the CAC will need to decide tonight, do you want to do presentations this year at all? If you do you want them in person, virtual, or some combination of the two? That's one decision to be made. Also, do you want one night of presentations or 2? Staff would state that rooms are at a premium that can record, because our meetings do need to be recorded. So for a logistics purpose, staff would strongly urge there only be one night, because there isn't another room in the same week that can record other than that one Monday on February. So we would have to have applications on 2 nights over 2 weeks, and I think logistically that gets hard. So staff would prefer, if the CAC is amenable, to keep it to 1 night this year. So that's presentation meeting. And so those are the decisions to be made. We would, for the presentation meeting, need a motion to have presentations, and then that should include if you're going to have it in person, virtual, or a combination.
So presentation meeting, have presentations, and whether or not they are in person.
Yep, how you want to carry those out.
Is there any discussion before we get started? So all those who are in favor of having presentations, say aye.
Aye.
I think maybe this is like a straw poll, and then we'll do a full motion
Yeah.
to wrap it all together, perhaps.
You're so good, Heather.
May I? I was just gonna say, I really enjoy the presentations every time, although I like cannot make eye contact because I choke up the entire time, but, I think that's something that we should keep as an ongoing tradition.
I concur. Okay. So I entertain a motion to have presentations.
If I could suggest that the same motion include the method of presentations as well. So if you have that discussion.
Certainly.
If I may, I would motion to still have presentations, and I guess for me personally, I don't care which method, so hybrid is fine. I like in person, but I would like to stick it to one night.
And I will say last year's presentations were in person only. I'm sorry, I thought I had it muted. Last year's presentation were in person only. That was the decision last year. It does not have to be the decision this year. That's entirely the CAC's choice.
I would just go with the majority on whatever they feel.
Thank you. Mr. Kiefer?
I'd say in person, stay that way. I think it's more personal.
Yep.
So we do
And if
straw.
I could just remind members to do push your talk button so that we can get you recorded.
Yes, I propose that we put a motion for the in-person meeting, one time, as the initial proposal, and if we have enough votes, then we don't need to do an alternative.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion?
Yes, I was going to suggest the same thing, that we have the one meeting and that they all be in person.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just adjust my motion to say I would like it in person.
So the motion is to have
I'll second.
presentations in person on one night. It's motion and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And virtual, all those in favor? I'm sorry, I think they can't hear us very well.
Yeah, I heard you. I said
Oh.
aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. And all those opposed? So we will have in-person presentations for one night.
Okay.
That's the best course of reading.
I'm sorry, may I just clarify? Did you give us a date that is then? so we can
It's the
set
first
for?
Monday in February, which I believe it's in the packet, but I'm going to double check since I made a typo on the other one.
Okay.
It is Monday, February 5th at 6 PM in this room.
Okay. Thank you.
Looking forward to those presentations. They are always amazing. All right. Next on the agenda, is there any other business before the CAC?
Nothing from staff, just a reminder, again, of the work session. It's not required, it is optional. I'll send an email confirming, just so we all are in clear understanding of the date, since I did make that mistake on the agenda. But as a reminder, if you aren't interested in attending the work session, or you're not able to, and do spend some time going over the applications, any questions that you want us to ask of the applicants, we include those in an email that will go out next Friday. So whatever questions that you have that you want us to include in that list, send them to us by next Friday, and we will include that. And those questions, just so that you know, they don't identify individual CAC members. It just says the CAC has the following questions. And so if you have a question and would prefer, to just be included in a somewhat more generalized list, that would be the time to make sure that you have it included. But then when the presentation night comes, you are, of course, more than welcome to ask questions in person. Obviously, they're in person, so they would not be anonymous. So you would want to just keep that in mind. Those would be the dates that I would just ask you to make sure you keep it in forefront. And we definitely want to make sure that we have a quorum for that meeting February 5th. We would hate to have brought a bunch of guests in and then not have all of our members present. So do really try to make it. And if you can't, just let us know in beforehand.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any additional comments or thoughts?
Oh, I have one more.
Yes, please.
It is the January meeting, and I would like to let you know that 2024 is the 50th anniversary year of CDBG.
Awesome.
And so throughout the year, we will be having a number of different kinds of recognitions and little mini events. So we'll definitely make sure that we include you in those emails and those notices when we send them out. We're working on a social media campaign to recognize, all the good that CDBG does in the community through the years. And then some kind of event. In April is National Community Development Week. So we're looking to have some kind of larger event. I mean, we always do something for National Community Development Week, but we're looking to maybe have something a little bigger this year. And then the actual anniversary of CDBG is in August. And so we would be thinking maybe of something in August as well. So it's a big deal. So not a lot of programs in the federal government make it 50 years. So we're grateful to be an entitlement. I know we talk about this through the years. CDBG has ebbed more than flowed. Our funding in the current year is, reduced by something like 46% from the highest year. So we would love to see CDBG get back to its peak in the 2000s. 2002 was our highest year, but I don't see that probably will happen anytime soon. But it's still around. It's still in the community doing good, just with a reduced amount of funding. Not to mention reduced buying power. 1974, a dollar went a lot farther, would be my guess. So. But yeah, we will include all of you in those communications as we solidify our plans.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second it.
I didn't get the first. Who was the first?
Dale.
Dale, okay. Dale and everyone else. Okay. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry, did we not?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All those opposed?
And thank you to those who were able to join us virtually today. And thank you to everyone else. Be careful going home. I can't see in this windowless room if it's snowing yet, but.
Is it snowing?
Well, head home, be safe, don't rush. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.